Race for Governor, the Republican debate, is sponsored by AARP Indiana. This is debate night in Indiana. On our stage tonight, 4 top Republican candidates aiming to take the state's top office. Mike Braun.
If we don't do something different, don't expect the results to be different.
Suzanne Crouch.
When you look at the experience, there is no comparison.
Brad Chambers.
To improve Hoosier quality of life, it's going to take someone from outside the system.
And Eric Doden.
Not one person is going to change, 7 million lives. It's going to take a whole team of leaders across the state of Indiana.
This is debate night in Indiana. The race for governor. The Republican debate.
We are broadcasting from the heart of the Circle City tonight. Indianapolis is your home for the Republican debate in the race for governor. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Dan Spieler.
I'm Beershel Edmay. We're your moderators for this evening's debate. Right here inside our studios on the northwest side of Indianapolis, we're hosting the top 4 candidates based on our poll on the Indiana Republican primary. And we're broadcasting live on air and online from our Indiana Next Star media stations and other partners from Evansville to Fort Wayne and Terre Haute to Lafayette. Before we start, let's review the rules.
Each candidate will have 60 seconds to answer a question that's directed toward them. If a follow-up or a rebuttal is needed, the candidate will get 30 seconds to respond, another 15 seconds if the moderators determine that any clarification is needed. And when their time is up, you'll hear the sound of a bell like this.
You can also follow along and engage with us using the hashtag INGOVGov. We'll also share more information supporting our questions. And now we would like to welcome our candidates who each met the agreed upon threshold on fundraising and polling support to join us here this evening. Thank you for joining us. With that introduction and the rules set, let's begin now the debate and with the first question. The 4 of you here on stage are hoping to win the party's nomination and to potentially become the next Republican governor of Indiana.
So our first question tonight is this: what type of a leader would you be? More like Mitch Daniels, where you drive specific legislative priorities, or more like Mike Pence, perhaps, where lawmakers often lead those policy issues? Mr. Braun, I'll start with you. You have 60 seconds.
Well, that's a great question because I've got a record that will probably show what I'll do. And you can take that from the 37 years I spent running a business on Main Street. And in the time that I've been in government, I ran as the outsider just 6 years ago. So this all started 6 years ago when you had to earn your way to become a senator. So proud of that record there. And if you're going to get stuff done, you got to work on issues that are meaningful to the broad spectrum of Hoosiers in my current job across the country. And there, a record where you can get more legislation passed than almost any Republican in areas like healthcare, education, agriculture, all things I did in the real world before I went there. And are you going to stick your neck out, get involved in issues that sometimes others won't? Based upon what you've seen, the record, not what someone says they might do.
Ms. Crouch, 60 seconds to you. What type of a leader would you be?
Unlike my opponents, I have the experience and the political courage to deliver results for Hoosiers. And I've already been doing that, leading the effort to expand broadband, standing up for parents who are trying to care for their severely disabled children, protecting our farmland and our military bases, voting for the largest property tax cut in our state's history, and then being able to co-found the Indiana Mental Health, helping those Hoosiers struggling with mental illness and addiction. And so as governor, I will boldly lead Indiana into the future. We'll start by leading the fight to eliminate Indiana's state income tax. And for all you working Hoosiers out there, I am the only candidate on this stage who is going to eliminate the state income tax. And then as governor, we will be focusing on helping those Hoosiers that are struggling with mental illness and addiction, the #1 priority facing us as Hoosiers. Thank you.
To you next, Mr. Chambers. Would your leadership style be more like Mike Pence or Mitch Daniels? You have 60 seconds.
Listen, this is an essential question tonight about leadership. And I don't believe career politicians necessarily are leaders. I believe someone who's been in business like I have for 40 years, building a business, building great dynamic teams to go achieve aspirational goals. That's the way to lead, building great teams. You have to do that with cooperation, collaboration. You have to be a good listener. You have to listen to the customer of the state like I've done for the last 300 sessions all over the state of Indiana, listening to the customer, listening to their hopes and dreams and aspirations for Indiana, and then paint that in an ambitious goal, build a great team, and be accountable for the results. Collaborate, reach over the aisle to go solve problems for Hoosiers. And that's what leadership is all about. It's getting teams together and achieving ambitious goals for the betterment of all Hoosiers. And it takes an outsider. It takes someone that's a CEO to do that.
Mr. Doden, what would your leadership style be? 60 seconds.
Well, my friends would describe me as highly relational and very driven to results. And what I look for in leaders are 3 C's: character, chemistry, and competency. Character is the ability to have integrity and a servant's heart. Chemistry is the ability to collaborate and work well with others, and competency is the ability to get things done. But the hallmark of my leadership has been building great teams that can get results, and that's going to be the focus of our administration. Is to build those great teams that get results, and that's how I intend to lead. I think, to kind of close out, how I view my leadership. Here's what I aspire to be. I aspire to be a servant-hearted leader that gets great results for the people of Indiana.
Okay, Mr. Doden, thank you.
We'd like to now ask each of you for a letter grade to rate Governor Eric Holcomb's time in office.
So you'll each have time to explain, but we'd like that grade first, one by one. Mr. Braun, your grade for Governor Holcomb.
I'll give that a B- because...
Well, I'll give you time to explain here in just a moment.
Okay.
One by one here. Ms. Crouch, your grade.
Some things an A, some things a C.
A or C. Mr. Chambers.
Yeah, I'll give him Governor Holcomb an A.
Mr. Doden.
Oh, I focus on the future. I do not grade past leaders.
No grade given.
No grade.
Mr. Braun, 30 seconds to explain your answer. You gave the governor a B-.
I think when you look at things around maybe economic development, trying to deal with those issues, when you look at maybe what our state's about in terms of the future, education, workforce issues I hear a lot about, we were given that lip service 5, 6, 7 years ago. Haven't seen a lot of improvement there. So I think there's plenty of room to do better.
Ms. Crouch, you said an A or a C. Does that average to a B? And 30 seconds to explain.
With the economy, we're #1 in the Midwest. We're 6th in the nation for our business environment. That would be an A. On COVID, looking back, that would be a C. And as governor, we will not have lockdowns, masks, or mandates when I'm governor because of what it has done to Hoosiers with the increase in anxiety and depression, particularly among our young people. And those young Hoosiers are the future of Indiana.
Mr. Chambers, you gave the governor an A. 30 seconds to explain your grade.
I did. I think he's tackled some real issues. I think last year's session was a real achievement. He put more money in our police officers' pockets that they've been working on for a very long time, supporting police officers. He provided funding and really leaned into some funding, public health funding that's been necessary in our state for years. He made real progress on education. And of course, I'm super proud of the results we have had in the economy, growing the economy, putting more money in people's pockets through higher wages. And so there's a lot to be proud of in his term.
Mr. Doden, no grade given. Why not? 30 seconds.
Well, because we're focused on the future for Indiana, and what we're going to focus on is the restoration of our small towns. For 50 years, we have forgotten these communities, and it's time for us to not forget them anymore and to put a stake in the ground and saying it's time to improve all 92 counties in those small towns. But we're also going to do regional cities where we make sure every region is competitive. We're going to have a zero-cost adoption policy that will allow 13,000 kids to be in loving homes. Those are the kinds of big, bold ideas that we're going to focus on.
All right, time to tackle now some of the viewers' topics and issues and questions they've been raising. Birchell, let's start with our first topic now.
It's immigration, and it's one of the top issues for Hoosier Republicans in our poll from Emerson College and The Hill. If former President Trump is elected again, he has promised to launch, quote, the largest deportation operation in history to identify all undocumented immigrants and detain them. if asked by the Trump administration, would you direct resources, Indiana resources, to support migrant deportation? And if so, how? Ms. Crouch, we start first with you with 60 seconds.
Because of Biden's failed immigration policies, we have over 6 million illegals in this country, and we stopped almost 200 people on the terrorist watch list last year at the border. And they're bringing deadly fentanyl in here that are killing our children and destroying our communities. As governor, I will be sure that we send troops down to the southern border, a National Guard, to protect our borders. But then we need to protect Indiana's borders, and I will lead an initiative to do that. In 2011, when I was lieutenant governor, I voted to prohibit sanctuary cities. And if illegals influx here in Indiana, we will be sure to deport them to sanctuary cities in other states. But equally important, we have to protect our farmland and the land near our military sites, which I did as Secretary of Agriculture. I was sure to be sure that we protect our farmland. But then when I saw that land near military sites could be bought up by our adversaries, I stopped it. That's the kind of governor you will get from me.
Let's turn now to you, Mr. Chambers. You have 60 seconds. Would you direct Indiana resources to support deportation of undocumented immigrants? And if so, how?
Listen, this is a failure of our federal government. Our Congress has failed us, and Senator Braun's failed us on the border. Listen, I would definitely send troops. We would have to distribute resources statewide to deal with the fentanyl crisis that's pouring over our border because of federal failures at the border. And then I would wear out my welcome in D.C. addressing this issue with our federal partners. It's got to stop. It's already costing states resources right now. To be clear, on Senator Braun's watch, 7 million people have come over the border illegally. The front door of our country is closed. The back door is flapping wide open, and he has not sponsored one bill or led on one bill to address this.
And Mr. Braun, I'll give you a moment in just a bit here to respond to some of the criticism there. But just as a follow-up, so you said you will send troops. Would that also include supporting the deportation of these migrants? In 30 seconds, your response.
Listen, we have to evaluate that as it comes. But first and foremost, let's get troops down there. Let's secure the fentanyl challenge that we already have in our state, and be a loud voice as the governor of this state, protecting Indiana's borders, because the federal government isn't protecting our federal borders.
We turn now to you, Mr. Doden. Would you back this deportation operation with Hoosier resources in the future Trump administration if he should be reelected? And if so, how? 60 seconds for your response, Mr. Doden.
Well, first of all, I think President Biden needs to do his job. I think Congress needs to do their job. And I'll point to Senator Mike Braun, who goes down to the border and cuts a TV commercial, tells us that he's bringing solutions to the problem, and just a few short days later then says, well, let's not have solutions because of politics. And that's just not leadership. And here's how we're going to lead. We're definitely going to send and support our governors. We're going to try to solve this from the state level. We'll send the National Guard down there to make sure that we try to stop fentanyl and drug cartels from coming across. We're going to then come back to Indiana and support our law enforcement here with the tools and the training and the things they need to make sure that we deal with drug dealers and drug cartels here, have stricter penalties for the drug dealers, and then we're going to try to help our people through their addiction with more resources. What I would say is I've said to people, we have to follow the rule of law. You cannot have it both ways. People want to come to this country because of the rule of law, and under my leadership, we will follow the rule of law.
And just again to reiterate here, the deportation piece, would you support the deportation and making sure you're identifying any migrants here in Indiana who are not here legally? You'll have 30 seconds for that follow-up response.
Yes, I'm clearly stating that we need to follow the rule of law.
Let's turn now to you, Mr. Braun. You've heard some of what your critics have had to say, your fellow opponents, but we first would like to get your response to this in 60 seconds. Would Indiana resources support a possible nationwide deportation effort under your administration if asked, and if so, how would you do that?
I think you could look at what governors did do something about it. Governor DeSantis in Florida, governor in Texas. They are at the leading edge of it, and unless you do something that's going to counter a do-nothing policy, and you're promoting open borders like the Biden administration has, and the naivete about what Mr. Chambers said is that any bill would have to be brought forth by a Schumer Senate. That's not going to happen. And the bill that was crafted was never going to do anything. That was going to baseline illegal immigration at 8 to 10 times what it was under Trump. It's very clear. It's the same legislative template that was in place for Trump when we had record low immigration. And Biden undid all of it. And a bill, unless a guy like Schumer is going to bring it forward, it's not going to work. You need to learn how that works in the U.S. government.
And so, Mr. Braun, you've obviously responded here to Mr. Doden and Mr. Chambers, but I do want to redirect you to the question about the deportations and whether you would support it and what, if any, resources here in Indiana you would provide. I'll give you 30 seconds to respond to that.
Anyone that barged into this country and got released into its interior without a credible fear, that's the criterion. Biden allowed that. Anyone that came in that way will have to leave. And you've seen what governors have done in Florida and in Texas, and you judge for the Hoosiers to see who would actually take that kind of action. I would do that. I wouldn't count on that here otherwise.
Mr. Braun, thank you. Let's turn now to another topic that we've heard from our viewers quite often.
Yeah, these next questions here will address topics and policies that are specific to each of you. And Mr. Doden, I'll start with you on the topic of fentanyl again here. On your campaign website, you say you support the strongest possible sentencing guidelines for those convicted of importing or distributing fentanyl. Does that mean considering the death penalty for those found guilty in cases involving deadly overdoses? Or does that go too far? You have 60 seconds.
Well, you know, what I've said is that we need to make sure that we hold people accountable and we hold them accountable to the full extent of the law and have stricter sentences. What I'm concerned about is making sure that first of all, law enforcement has the tools, the training, and the resources to make sure they protect our neighborhoods as this fentanyl is coming across. We also need to secure the border to make sure it doesn't come across there. But I think the key issue here is to also try to get help to people. To get help to the people who are addicted, who need resources, make sure that we have partnerships with wraparound services to help these people break their addiction and get back into being a part of a meaningful society and their community. And so that's going to be the focus of our campaign, is trying to help with those. And then we will work with law enforcement, and we will make sure that we do not have rogue prosecutors that are not, prosecuting people to the full extent of the law. And we will make sure we do everything in our power to get these drug dealers off the streets.
So in 15 seconds to clarify there, would that involve potentially the death penalty? If you were elected governor, would you push for that?
Well, I said I'm pretty clear, to the full extent of the law, whatever that law allows.
Okay. To you, Mr. Braun, here in 2020 on a separate topic, you introduced a bill in 2020 called the Reforming Qualified Immunity Act, which dealt with legal protections for police officers. That bill was criticized by some law enforcement agencies before you ultimately backed down from those comments. As governor, what reforms of qualified immunity would you support now? You have 60 seconds.
So when that happened, that was to try to codify something that would have been better when it looked like it was going to be a runaway with crazy stuff like defunding police. I want to make it loud and clear. The only one here on the stage that's got an endorsement from a law enforcement agency is me, the Indiana Troopers, and from the National Troopers Coalition. I listened to them there. They rather that you didn't do anything because they thought it could do something that would take away what they've currently got, even if you'd codify it in a way that seems like it would have put it into a protection to at least get rid of frivolous lawsuits. I think it's clear that was an intention to do something better. And when I heard they didn't want to do anything, I listened and didn't do it. And now we've litigated that. I'm the only one getting endorsed by a police agency here in our own state, as well as National Troopers as well. I'll trust their judgment.
So to clarify here in 15 seconds, do you support any reforms of qualified immunity currently?
No, I think it's loud and clear what we've got, they're happy with.
Okay, Ms. Crouch, I'll turn to you next here on another issue, the state's Medicaid fund. It's facing a nearly $1 billion shortfall right now. You lead the task force that helps Hoosiers with disabilities who could now lose critical benefits because of this deficit. The Holcomb administration is yet to fully explain this shortfall, despite a lot of questions. So we ask you tonight, as Lieutenant Governor, how did this happen? What could you and the administration have done differently to prevent this? You have 60 seconds.
I chaired the Intellectual and Developmental Disability Task Force, and we worked through that task force to ensure that Hoosiers with autism, Down syndrome, or cerebral palsy can live, work, and play in safe, accessible, affordable environments. In December, FSSA, the Family Social Services Administration, said that they had a $1 billion error in their budget forecasting. First of all, how do you have a $1 billion error? If it was the private sector, heads would roll. And so I called a meeting, an emergency meeting of the Intellectual Developmental Disability, or IDD, task force to ask the FSSA for questions that we want answers to, and they had no answers. At that time, then I called for the governor and for FSSA to pause, and ended up asking for an independent audit of that agency, because it is unconscionable that we would put an error on the backs of parents that are caring for their severely disabled children. We will be judged by how we care for the most vulnerable. We do not want to be judged in this light.
Following up here, though, prior to that, is there anything you feel you or your office could have done to try and prevent this from happening?
I would have an independent audit of FSSA. I'd have, as governor, independent audits of all the major agencies. It's one of the things that I want to do, is modernize state government, downsize them, realize efficiencies and cost savings, figure out how we can make government more efficient, and so that we avoid these errors in the future, because taxpayers deserve better than that.
Mr. Chambers, part of your pitch to voters is that you're an outsider, in your words. In one of your ads, you said, quote, "The career politicians feed you a steady diet of stale sound bites, dysfunction, and the same lousy results." Can you point to your opponents on stage tonight that you think are feeding the public stale sound bites, dysfunction, and lousy results? You have 60 seconds.
Absolutely. I mean, Senator Braun's been down for 3 or 4 photo ops at the border, and nothing's changed. There was a bill that was a bipartisan bill that was put in the legislature a month ago, and he's quoted in the paper as saying, "Well, we don't want to vote on that because we don't want to help Biden." So that is not serving the Hoosiers that sent him to Washington, D.C. You know, he's now on his 3rd position regarding qualified immunity. I mean, no one in Indiana can unsee the Tucker Carlson interview, or him, in his own words, talking about Black Lives Matter being a great institution. So there's lots of political speak that don't move Hoosiers forward, that don't solve problems. It's just political rhetoric. We need a CEO of this state, someone to actually tackle problems and set aspirational agendas to grow the economy, put more money in people's pockets, bring new businesses here, and grow the entrepreneurial and innovative system that we already have here. We have a great state, but we have to go play to win. And stale sound bites in no-calorie sound bites don't help.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Braun, he referenced you there. I'll give you 30 seconds here to respond.
Well, anybody clearly knows that when I made that reference, that was to somebody exercising their First Amendment rights. So that was never to ever support a radical, crazy group like the umbrella group BLM. They know that. Hoosiers know that. That's been out there for 4 years. You can try that kind of retread, but when you're doing that, that's because you're in single digits. You don't have anything Hoosiers believe in, and then you come at somebody. I went through this same rodeo 6 years ago.
Okay, we're moving to our next topic now. Birchelle.
Given the recent Alabama State Supreme Court ruling, which could criminalize the loss of embryos used in vitro fertilization, or IVF, do you believe embryos should be considered living children? And what is your position on IVF treatment for Hoosier couples hoping to start or expand their families? Mr. Chambers, we'll start first with you on this question, and you'll have 60 seconds to respond.
Sure. As a pro-life candidate, I think we have to protect life, but we also have to promote life. And I believe that families in Indiana should have access to IVF. I mean, let's grow Indiana families. Let's build Indiana families. Let's allow them to grow their families. And so I support full access to IVF in Indiana.
So as a clarifying point, your support there for these families, but do you believe embryos should be considered living children? 15 seconds for your response on that.
So listen, I am a pro-life candidate, and I believe that IVF should be accessible to all families in Indiana. And the way the legislature in Indiana treats IVF is what I agree with. The law in Indiana.
Let's turn to you, Mr. Doden, with the same question. Should embryos be considered living children, and your position on this fertility care? You have 1 minute for your response.
Well, first of all, I've made it clear I'm ardently pro-life. I think it's a human rights issue as well as a religious issue for me. I also believe that we should protect IVF, make sure that we want people to have children. We want people to have strong families. I think it's the hallmark of both our party and my philosophy that we have strong families. And as leader of this state, we will do a lot of policies to have strong families. For example, our zero-cost adoption policy, the first candidate in the nation to have a zero-cost adoption policy, where we will have an adoption fund that will help our 13,000 kids in foster care, 13,000 experience a loving home. The adoption fund will not only help pay for the adoption, but some of the expensive aftercare. These are the kind of pro-mother, pro-child, pro-family policies that we're going to have under my administration, and we're going to make sure that we help families strengthen and be strong.
1 minute for you now, Mr. Braun. Should embryos be considered living children, and your stance on IVF for Indiana couples?
I think that's very clear. If you believe in the sanctity of life, you should treat living embryos with respect. When you try to say, is it a living child, I think that is where you get into the discussions of, even when you say you're pro-life, you ought to highlight the other side of the view where they are okay with abortions up to the point of birth. So it's a tough issue. IVF, I don't know one Republican that wouldn't be for that staying in place, because it helps create families. So that's an issue where I think you navigate through it in this way. That happened 6 years ago. If you disagree with somebody on that issue, treat that point of view with respect. You would want the same reciprocation. Don't demonize the other point of view, but when it comes to the sanctity of life, my record is clear. And I think when it comes to IVF, I've not heard of one Republican that's not for keeping that in place.
We turn now to you, Ms. Crouch. We'll wrap with you. Do you believe embryos are living children, and what is your position on this fertility service? 60 seconds for your response.
As a woman and as a mother, I cannot imagine the pain and the anguish that women and couples go through when they want so desperately to bring a life into this world and they're unable to do so. I'm pro-life, and I cast a tie-breaking vote to strengthen our abortion laws. Indiana today is one of the most pro-life states in the country. And as governor, I will work with our medical experts, with ethical experts, and with the Indiana General Assembly to ensure that we can protect life, but also protect the right of these women and these couples to be able to bring a precious life into this world.
And so, again, you've spoken of your pro-life stance and some of the previous votes that you have taken. But the question is, do you believe embryos are living children? So your response to that in 15 seconds is a quick clarifier.
I believe that life starts at conception. Others believe that life starts at the heartbeat. Others believe that life starts at birth. And that is why I will work with the medical experts and with the ethical experts in the General Assembly to be sure that we protect life, but we also protect women and couples' rights to bring children into this world.
Thank you to you all on this topic. We move now to Dan for the next.
Yeah, let's turn to the economy right now. Many Hoosiers struggling these days to pay for basic needs like groceries and gasoline. This month, our state's gas tax will climb for a third straight month. Would you support a decrease in our state's gas tax to give Hoosiers some immediate relief? Mr. Braun, this first question is for you. Would you support lowering the state's gas tax if elected governor?
So when it comes to the gas tax, the income tax, property tax is really what I hear the most about. We dealt with that when I was in the state legislature. And when a gas tax or a diesel tax would be used for roads and bridges, it wasn't before. We're the crossroads of America, and it costs to keep it like that. If we lose that comparative advantage, you're going to be in trouble. So community crossings, which generates cost sharing between state and communities across the state, local and county governments, they complained about it at first. Now they love it. If we want to keep what we're known best for, if we want to get economic development into this state, you got to make sure your infrastructure is in good shape. When it comes to that, and that happened years ago in the state legislature, that's why we've got roads and bridges in good shape. And almost 48 out of 50 stakeholders said they were for it when that occurred. I'll listen again.
So to follow up here, you're referencing your vote in 2017 in the State House. You voted to support that 10-cent a gallon increase signed into law by the governor. Would you vote the same way on that today? 30 seconds.
I would. I don't think we need a tax increase on gas. I think in general, the thing we probably ought to be looking at is how do we keep property taxes from getting out of control. And there are other ways to get revenues by making making government work more efficiently, including looking at our Department of Transportation to see if they're doing their job correctly, maybe get some savings there to spend more on roads and bridges.
Ms. Crouch, 60 seconds to you on lowering the gas taxes. Is a move that you would support?
You know, as a state representative, I voted for the largest property tax cut in our state's history. Also voted to reduce the corporate income tax, voted to eliminate the estate tax. And I am certainly open to eliminating or lowering any tax here in Indiana. But as governor, I will lead the fight to eliminate the state income tax. We're going to axe the tax, put thousands of dollars back into hardworking men and women's pockets every year. Now, my opponents will say we can't do it, and it's a gimmick. What they're really saying is government needs more of your money and you need less. And so we can do it. It has to be phased in. It can't happen overnight. We have to have triggers in place to protect against economic downturns. But as former vice chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, former auditor of state, we can do it. If we limit government growth, if we end wasteful government spending, and if we find efficiencies in government, we can reduce that tax, we can eliminate it, and put money in your pockets, and our economy will prosper.
Mr. Chambers, 60 seconds to you. Would you support cutting the state's gas tax?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 2017 gas tax increase that Senator Braun supported. That would have been the largest tax increase in state history. But this is about the total palette of taxes. It's about income tax, property tax, gas tax, sales tax. Indiana is pretty competitive. We can always work to get that down over time without pulling the resources away from education and supporting our police and addressing mental health and health care. We have to look at the entire package of taxation in a package, not just one individual tax here and there. We do need to, we were #1 in the country for infrastructure in 2022. We need to continue to make progress on infrastructure. And so we'd have to evaluate that in context of all other taxation. At the end of the day, we're #9 in the country. We'd like to get that down even further, but not at the expense of public safety or education as well.
Mr. Doden, 60 seconds to you on whether you'd back a reduced gas tax.
Well, the General Assembly is studying our tax, whole tax system right now. We're going to work with them to study that. But here's what I'm going to focus on. I've been talking with seniors all over the state of Indiana on property taxes, and we've seen an increase of up to 15, sometimes even higher % in 1 year. And they're coming to me and saying, Eric, if we do not have the ability with our fixed income to pay for these taxes, we're going to lose our home. And I think that's just wrong. So we're going to work through the General Assembly to have a cap on property taxes for seniors so that they can know exactly what their taxes are going to be while they're on a fixed income. We're going to make sure then that we work with the General Assembly to study the taxes, both income tax. And I just want to briefly comment on income tax. I think it's inappropriate for a governor to make a promise that they can't keep. Our income taxes cannot be axed. It'd be a 40% blow to the budget, $8 billion. We need to work with the General Assembly to make sure that we lower taxes as much as possible in a fiscally responsible way, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
I'm going to have Ms. Crouch respond to that here in a moment, but first, I'm not sure if I heard an answer on the gas tax cut specifically, if you'd support that or not. 15 seconds.
Well, right. So what I'm saying is we're looking at the total tax structure with the General Assembly, which would include the gas tax.
Ms. Crouch, 30 seconds to you. Your response to what he said there, he feels that's a promise you would not be able to keep.
Yes, well, my opponent has selective hearing, but also you can certainly be entitled to your own opinions, but not your own facts. And when I explained it, I said it can't happen overnight. It has to be phased in. We're actually doing it today because several years ago we were at 3.4%. Today we're at 3.1%. 2027 we're going to 2.9%. No, it can't happen overnight, but we can do it if we phase it in and take excess surpluses and revenues and put them towards eliminating that income tax, putting money back into your pockets every single year.
Certainly a topic that has been front and center in the news during this election. Birchelle, you have the next question.
And we want to stick with economy here. It's a question actually several viewers raised about Indiana time zones. Would you support putting Indiana on a unified time zone? If so, Central or Eastern time? We'll start first with Mr. Braun with 30 seconds for that question.
It's funny because that comes up each year in the Congress as well. It doesn't make it past one chamber. So what we've got currently, and we happen to be actually positioned in the Central time zone, but have stayed in the Eastern, except for counties in the Northwest and the Southwest. That, I hear more and more, people would like to not change their clocks. And that is something I'd look at and that gets traction now and then, and you hear it more and more recently. So I'm not ruling that out.
So you said you're not ruling it out if it should come across your desk with more support from voters and Hoosiers. Do you have that preference for either Central or Eastern? And again, just 15 seconds to clarify here.
Well, when I weighed in on that issue before, it was for the Central Time Zone. That's the one we're in. The economy is moving to the South and the Southwest. That orientation to the East has always been why we've been in the Eastern Time Zone. You got to look at that carefully because you're getting opinions from both sides and they're about equally weighted, although the issue comes up more all the time.
All right, Mr. Braun, thank you. Now to you, Ms. Crouch, in 30 seconds. Would you go to one time zone here in the state? And if so, which time zone would that be? 30 seconds.
Well, I live in Indianapolis during the week, and I travel to Evansville every weekend where my home and my husband is. Now, don't feel sorry for him. He likes the arrangement. But I'm constantly moving back from Central to Eastern time. And what I hear from people when I'm traveling the state is that they would prefer that we just stay on one time and not move the clocks back and forth. So to the extent that the General Assembly is open to that discussion, I certainly would be open to it.
Mr. Doden, the same question now to you. Would a Doden administration be in favor of one time zone? And if so, would that be Central or Eastern? 30 seconds. And we'll get to Mr. Doden first. One moment. Let's get to Mr. Chambers first.
I don't hear it as much. What I do hear is from farmers typically about one time zone, and they have an opinion on that. I would be open to it as well, and it would probably be Central Time Zone as well.
All right. And now, Mr. Doden, your response to the same question on a unified time zone here in the state and which time zone you would prefer. If so, 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I'm open to different ideas here and working with the General Assembly. I've heard both sides. I've heard some people say that they'd like to stay Eastern, some say Central. I think there's a broader discussion. I do think that in talking with a lot of people, they're not interested in changing their clocks. So I think this is a discussion that will be ongoing and will require collaboration with all of us involved.
Let's move now to our next top question, and it's been one that we've seen not simply in Indiana be a hot topic, but certainly all across the nation.
Been a big issue everywhere. We've seen a lot of questions from viewers about marijuana, and as of this year, as you see here on the map, Indiana is surrounded by neighboring states that have legalized marijuana in one form or another. So, question tonight, do you support legalizing marijuana for either medicinal or recreational purposes? Ms. Crouch, we'll start with you. You have 30 seconds.
I stand with law enforcement and oppose the legalization of marijuana. And I have the endorsements, and I'm grateful for the endorsements of over 24 sheriffs here in the state of Indiana. You see, my family has struggled with mental illness and addiction. My mother, my brother, my sister, our daughter. And so, to me, personally, I'm not in favor of legalizing marijuana. We need to be focused on getting help to those struggling with mental illness and addiction, which will be my top priority, not legalizing another drug.
15 seconds here to clarify. What about medicinal marijuana? Is that something you'd be open to?
I would not be in favor of legalizing marijuana.
In any form.
Period.
Mr. Chambers, do you support legalizing marijuana for either medicinal or recreational use? You have 30 seconds.
It's amazing how as I've driven all over the state of Indiana, how I hear about this topic every time. I'm having seniors come up to me and veterans come up to me talking about legalizing marijuana. So I am supportive of medicinal marijuana being legalized. Now, that said, we have our federal government has screwed this up again. We have conflicts with federal laws and regulations and state laws and regulations that would have to get resolved to be able to evaluate recreational. We need to make sure law enforcement is at the table, but we don't want to trade one problem for another. We have to study this very closely before we would go down the road on recreational.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Mr. Doden, what's your stance on legalized marijuana, medicinal or recreational? 30 seconds.
I'm clearly not in favor of legalizing marijuana. I think we have a major addiction issue in our state. In fact, we have some of the highest addiction in the country for our young people and teenagers. And so from my perspective, in listening to law enforcement, they're very clear of some of the challenges. The marijuana today is very potent, and it could lead to all kinds of challenges. And I think we can also see what's happening in other states that have legalized marijuana. So from my perspective, we are not going to legalize marijuana. We need to protect people and make sure they have a better future, and I don't think that does that.
You're against it in any form? 15 seconds.
Yeah, I'm open to the idea of talking about it from a medical perspective, but I'm against the legalization of marijuana.
Mr. Braun, you've also spoken about potentially medicinal marijuana, perhaps. What's your position on this? 30 seconds.
It's even gotten more complicated in the sense that marijuana can be laced with stuff like fentanyl, so you got to be very careful. The fact is we're surrounded by 4 states, 2 of which I think got both legal and 2 medical marijuana. So nullification is what happens when states are able to do things and the feds got a law on the books that says otherwise. It's going to hit all of us. I'm going to listen to law enforcement. They have to put up with the brunt of it. Medical marijuana is where I think the case is best made that maybe something needs to change. But I'll take my cue from law enforcement there as well.
So you'd potentially be open to medicinal marijuana?
Yes, because I hear a lot of input where that's helpful, and I think that you need to listen and see what makes sense.
Okay, Pierschel?
Small towns all across Indiana are facing growing infrastructure issues, and they need the state's help. Here is Dirk Rowley now from our sister station out in Fort Wayne with a question about the town of Andrews.
For at least a decade, the small town of Andrews in Huntington County has put up with questionable drinking water after contamination from an old factory. The town's been passed over for state funding more than once. How would you help Andrews specifically? And why should anyone in Andrews believe you?
So again, a follow-up here. What would you do specifically as governor to help small towns like Andrews address these critical needs? And we'll start first with Mr. Chambers. You have 60 seconds for your response to this question.
Sure. Thank you. This comes down to infrastructure, and infrastructure is a fundamental duty of government. And to fund infrastructure, we need to grow the economy. We need to lift people up, grow GDP. Indiana's GDP growth is below U.S. average. Our average wage is below U.S. average. To grow the economy, then we have resources to invest in our infrastructure and to fix things like education. And so we need to address the funding formulas for aging infrastructure in all communities, for water, for sewers, as well as for roads. And so grow the economy, put more money in people's pockets, and then invest that in infrastructure. When I was at the IDC as Secretary of Commerce, we distributed $1 billion statewide. Every county got touched, and it leveraged to $12 billion of economic impact. That helped every county in the state for housing and other infrastructure needs. So this is a very important topic, but you can't do it by cutting $8 billion out of your budget. You have to grow the economy to have the resources to help these communities with their infrastructure.
Mr. Chambers, thank you. Now we turn to you, Mr. Doden. In 60 seconds, how would you specifically assist these small communities with their critical infrastructure needs?
Well, for 50 years, we have ignored small towns and have forgotten them. And anyone that knows me knows how passionate I am about this issue. In fact, we have a policy on this in writing on our website at dodenforindiana.com that you can go read. I encourage you to go read it. But we're going to have a strategy for small towns. We spend $1 billion a year in economic development, largely on corporations and corporate incentives. And we're going to take 10% of that and put it towards small towns. And then work with the private sector to restore these communities. I want you to imagine what Indiana begins to look like when we fix these kind of problems, when we restore the main streets, when it leads to a fixing of the housing crisis, it leads to community pride. It leads to small business growth and our kids and grandkids returning to our small towns. And I think that one of the most important things we're going to do over the next 10 years is restore these small towns, and it's going to be amazing when we get it done.
So you repeated that 10% of the budget in your administration that would be used here toward these small towns with infrastructure issues, but how? What would that 10% be used for? How would you use it?
Well, that's the great thing.
We're 15 seconds here for a response.
Sorry. We're going to have a very flexible approach with local leaders. The bold vision and what we've experienced has to come from local leaders, and they have to be the ones that share with us the challenges and problems. And then we got to make sure that we give them the resources and partner with them to fix those problems, and that's how that will work.
So depending here on some of those local communities and partnerships, let's turn to you, Mr. Braun. Your specific plan to help small towns, their infrastructure. You have 60 seconds for that response.
First, I'd want to point out we got 2 people on the stage here that have been in the business of economic development. So look to see what they have done. And one over on this side is focused on big companies, on big projects, and is in a pickle on one currently. Eric, when he was doing it, he's talking about it now, but did he do it then? And if I recall, when he was involved in economic development, he had issues where he wasn't actually doing things to help small towns. He was maybe trying to help his own friends in business, got an ethics warning about it and ignored it 4 times. And here we got someone maybe helping his fat cat buddies on economic development. I come from Main Street. I've always defended that. I know how to manage cash flow. You simply are going to have to devote more money to it if you want to help out towns like that are struggling.
And so you're making reference there to the time both Mr. Doden and Mr. Chambers have spent at the IEDC. That is a topic we will get to in a bit, and I'll allow each of you to respond to some of his criticism. But first, our viewers really want to hear your plan specifically. So for someone in Andrews watching right now, what would you do for their critical infrastructure needs? I'll give you 15 seconds here to clarify your point.
On anything like questionable water supplies, on getting more development done, getting developers to work with local jurisdictions, I will try to nurture that through the private sector, and if not, I'll take our cash flow and invest some in it, and to me, that's a viable place to do it.
Ms. Crouch, now we turn to you for the same response. What would you do for some of these small communities, their infrastructure issues they have now? We'll give you 60 seconds to respond to them.
Well, thank you. And it seems like my opponents are more interested in their next job. I'm interested in helping Andrews and Huntington County. And actually, as Lieutenant Governor, have been focused on helping Hoosiers in rural Indiana by expanding broadband, connecting 75,000 Hoosier families and businesses. We're in sound economic condition here in Indiana. The next step and the next chapter in our state's history will be quality of life. It's how we improve our ability to enjoy the kind of life, and infrastructure is part of that. And so what I will continue to do is I will continue to work to create a leadership academy, being able to support our local economic development organizations so we can have true partnership and that they have the resources and the expertise to be able to help Andrews. But then, in addition to that, please reach out to me, and I would love to connect you to resources that we have at the state level and work with you so that you can address your infrastructure issues there in Andrews in Huntington County.
Ms. Crouch, you've made that direct outreach to those in Andrews and beyond small communities, but they are looking for that specific assistance. So as I did with your other candidates here, please, in 15 seconds, what specific assistance would you provide to those in these communities?
Well, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs distributes $32 million of community development block grant money to our small rural communities. And a lot of that grant money is for water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, and wastewater. And so that is something I would be happy to work with Andrews to try to get them assistance and be able to get them the help that they need.
Thank you, Ms. Crouch. Now, as promised, that 30 seconds to now respond to some of the criticism you heard there from Mr. Braun. We'll talk about that now in our chapter of the IEDC and some discussions on what's going on there.
That's right. Let's talk about the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, the IEDC. It's an organization that's created to bring new business to Indiana. Each year, the state gives the agency hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes with little oversight on how that money is used. As governor, would you institute a yearly independent audit to offer more transparency on how this taxpayer money is being spent? Mr. Doden, you led the IEDC at one point. I'll start with you on this question, 60 seconds.
Yeah, well, I'm going to repeat this. I think it's important to have a strategy for all 92 counties and especially for our small towns. And right now, the IEDC seems to have a LEAP economic development strategy where they're spending billions of taxpayer dollars in one county. And I just think that's inappropriate. And then to go further, they're saying, well, now that we are buying 10,000 acres or want to buy 10,000 acres, we have a water problem. So we're going to take water from a small community north of there, Lafayette and West Lafayette, and try to solve a water problem in central Indiana, costing billions of dollars. And I just think that's inappropriate. The IEDC needs to go back to its roots, where we had it when I was running it, where it served all 92 counties, where it made sure that we served businesses. We were not trying to buy property. We were not trying to use resources to draw waterway. We were not spending billions of dollars in one county. We were serving the entire state. I think it needs to go back to the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and not the LEAP Economic Development Corporation.
So 15 seconds here. Would you support the annual audit?
Yeah, I mean, we audit all the time. We will audit. Okay. You know, we are going to have the kind of leadership that will be held accountable.
I want to come to Mr. Chambers here next because we've had a lot to say about about the IEDC and the LEAP District project that you led there at the IEDC. What's your response to that, and would you implement this yearly independent audit?
Well, there's already audits, and there's already transparency. All the transactions go on the portal, and moreover, all of those incentives and investments that are offered out are based on performance only. If you don't invest the dollars, if you don't hire the people, they aren't distributed. So, but let me talk about Senator Braun's comment. I mean, he's focused on big businesses. $51 billion. It's a record in state history. For every big business, there's hundreds, and he doesn't understand this. There's hundreds of small businesses that get lifted up. The Dairy Queen get lifted up. The title company, the home builder get lifted up. So for every big business that we've distributed all over the state, from New Carlisle to Kokomo to Vigo County, there's hundreds of small and medium-sized businesses that get lifted up. Now, we don't want to take Senator Braun's advice on this. He's the one that said in 2018, we want to bring jobs back from China. We want to bring jobs overseas. And then he went and vetoed and didn't support the CHIPS Act. I brought 8 high-wage companies based on the CHIPS Act here that Todd Young sponsored. So let's not take his advice on economic development.
Okay, Mr. Braun, to you next, your reaction to that, and would you implement the yearly audit? 60 seconds.
We need audits and transparency on the entirety of state government. And when it comes to somebody that understands economic growth and did it as a Main Street entrepreneur, folks here did not do that. I ran a scrappy little business for 20 years. It became then a regional and national company. 3 of my 4 kids run it now with a great young executive team. This guy over here has been with his fat cat buddies over the time he spent there, zeroing in on a couple projects. One of his supporters gave him a $100,000 check from Eli Lilly. And you've got the healthcare industry that wants to support him. That's another thing we haven't talked about that we ought to reform, because we got some of the highest healthcare costs in the country with some of the poorest outcomes. I've taken on, since I've been wrestling out in D.C., in the short time I spent in the Indiana legislature, tough issues, competition, transparency, spread the wealth on economic development. That's not been occurring under his regime.
Mr. Chambers, 15 seconds to respond.
Listen, I started a company from zero 40 years ago, and 40 years later, it's a national business. I know about scrappy. I know about starting something from nothing. I know about being a CEO. Listen, I did that IEDC job as Secretary of Commerce for $1 a year, and we had record results, higher wages, investments all over this state. So I am flattered that the business community supports my campaign.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. Ms. Crouch, to you on this, would you support a yearly independent audit of the IEDC?
I would support, as governor, an independent audit of IEDC and of all of our state agencies so we can realize more cost savings and efficiencies. As a county commissioner, I learned the importance of collaboration with the state on economic development. And as governor, I will support our local economic development organizations so we can have true collaboration and be able to go after those jobs of the future. But in addition to that, we will be sure that we axe the tax, because the National Federation of Independent Businesses said the #1 tax they want to get rid of is the income tax, and that's comprised of small businesses. So let's grow our small businesses in Indiana. Let's eliminate the state income tax, put money back into Hoosiers' pockets, allow our small businesses to grow, and then make Indiana a no-income tax state, because today where are people moving? Tennessee, Texas, Florida, South Dakota, no income tax states. Let's move our economy and let's grow it by eliminating the state income tax.
Your response on the independent audit is that you would indeed
I said that at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. We are just about out of time now, believe it or not. We've had plenty of topics, plenty of discussion with our candidates as we wrap up the end of this hour here soon.
And so right now we want to do a rapid fire question session for you. So just a way for our viewers at home, the voters, to get to know you just a bit better here. So we will move from Mr. Doden all the way to his left to right, and just about 10 seconds here for each of the questions.
Again, a few get to know you questions here. What's your favorite Indiana day trip location, Mr. Doden?
Well, we like Turkey Run State Park. We like to hike. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Mr. Braun.
Pioneer Mother's Woods in Orange County.
Evansville, Indiana, that's where my home is, and it's where my husband of 46 years on April Fool's Day will be there. Happy anniversary, honey.
Mr. Chambers.
Lake Wawasee, Syracuse, Indiana.
All right, we're moving now to some food. So what's your favorite Indiana food specialty? Pork tenderloin, sugar cream pie, or St. Elmo cocktail sauce? We're going to start again with you, Mr. Doden.
It is hard to beat that St. Elmo's cocktail sauce.
Okay, he likes the spice.
Got a kick. Yeah.
Mr. Braun.
A breaded pork tenderloin.
Oh, specificity on that one. Okay.
Sweets for the sweet. Sugar cream pie.
There it is. And lastly, you, Mr. Chambers, your favorite?
I was chairman of the Indiana State Fair Commission, spent a lot of time out there. So during the state fair, you got to go, and it's not on your list, but I'm going with the buttered corn as you walk down the...
4 different answers there. How about that?
Freestyle.
Favorite Indy 500 tradition, Mr. Doden?
Just going and watching the race and watching the people.
Mr. Braun.
The week before.
Watching the Jets take off at the beginning.
Mr. Chambers.
You know, bringing people to Indiana that have never experienced the 500 is you know, I've been blessed to go for years and years and years, but to bring people into our state and to experience that incredible event is really a highlight for me.
All right, here's your last one. Favorite Indiana sports movie, Hoosiers or Rudy?
Quickly.
Mr. Doden.
Oh boy, that's both for me, but I'm going to say Hoosiers. I'm going to
Mr.
say
Braun?
Hoosiers.
What was the other option?
Hoosiers or Rudy?
Hoosiers.
Okay.
Hoosiers.
I mean, you got to love Notre Dame. We got to go with Rudy.
Okay, there we are.
All right, we've reached the final moments of our debate now, so we'll move to our closing statements. Mr. Chambers, I'll start with you. You have 30 seconds.
I do. Thank you. I'm not a career politician. I think that's probably evidenced by now. I'm a CEO who's passionate about our state. Our state is a great state, but we've got to go play to win. We've got to lift people up by growing the economy so that we can invest in the things that need to be invested in, and to shrink government by a growing economy. I'm passionate about we've got to play to win in Indiana. We can't play not to lose. And there's enormous opportunity, but it's got to be run by a CEO. I don't believe outside career politicians can do this. This needs to be run like a CEO. It's been 20 years since the last CEO came into the state, and that was Mitch Daniels.
Okay, Mr. Doden, 30 seconds for your closing statement.
My grandfather was a pastor and a big influence in my life. And he taught me that faith without works is dead, and without vision, people perish. So as your governor, we will implement a zero-cost adoption fund that will allow thousands of kids to experience a loving home. We will restore our small towns and main streets, and we will make sure that we support law enforcement to keep you safe. So tonight, I'm asking you to have a bold vision for the people of Indiana so that our kids and grandkids can live in stronger communities. I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Ms. Crouch, 30 seconds.
To the undecided voters out there, I'm running for governor to protect our conservative values. And as governor, we will never cast aside our most vulnerable Hoosiers, the unborn, the elderly, the disabled, those struggling with mental illness and addiction, because they are our families, our friends, and our neighbors. The Indiana you and I will build will never compromise in protecting faith, family, and freedom. I'm Suzanne Crouch. I'm running for governor. I ask for your vote on May 7th. Let's build a better Indiana together.
Finally, Mr. Braun, 30 seconds for you.
I did this 6 years ago, and when you come from 1% and you take out 2 congressmen and beat a sitting senator, it must be something going on to where Hoosiers trust you. I grew up on Main Street, moved back there, ran a successful business over 37 years. 3 of my 4 kids are in it. That's the American dream. I will stick my neck out. I've got a proven record in the Senate for effectiveness. Try something where you know it's going to get done by the record, not by what they say they're going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Braun. And that does it for this evening. Thank you to the candidates for being here and participating. And thank you at home for watching tonight. If you'd like to vote in the May primary, you now have 2 weeks left to register.
Early voting starts April 9th, and the primary election for both the Republicans and Democrats is May 7th. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. Good night.